Good morning, everybody. It is Monday morning. Well, it's probably like afternoon by now. It's about 11 o'clock. I wanted to come online today and kind of switch up topics. I know I've been talking a lot about thyroid health and things like that. But today, I don't know, I kind of woke up in a funk. It's Monday morning, and I tend to be one of those people who I like Monday morning because I feel like Monday is a new beginning and you can start a new week and a lot of things can happen. It's like a fresh start. If you had a crappy week the week before, if you had a crappy weekend, Monday's a fresh start. So I feel like Mondays are a new beginning. Maybe it's something to do with the fact that I'm not working Mondays right now. I don't know, but I try to keep a positive outlook about life in general. So one of the things that I started thinking about this morning, I'm sitting here drinking my coffee, my bulletproof coffee, and I just finished my workout. And the workout that I did today was a strength workout, and it was one that I haven't done in probably like well over a year. And I remember the last time I did it, I couldn't even get through half of the moves. And it was kind of amazing today because I've been really focusing on increasing my strength versus just cardio endurance. And I was a lot more strong, if I said that right. I was a lot stronger this time around than I have been in the past. And it got me thinking, like, why are you in a funk, Cindy, number one? And why are you being negative, number two? So sometimes I feel like I forget where I have been and where I have come through, where I have come from and what I've been through. So a lot of people don't know probably my huge background about my history. I talk about it from time to time, but I'm kind of a private person and I'm kind of getting out of my shell a little bit here by talking about some of my past. So I would say that yeah, I'm getting a little emotional because I don't like talking about my past. But so growing up, I was in foster care. So many people don't know that about me. And I was adopted. And hi, Jamie. And, growing up, it was tough for me. And I think it was tough because, first of all, I had two sisters and they were awesome. And I still think they're awesome. But we're all adopted, both of my sisters and myself. They're both Korean. They were born in Korea. So they look similar. And so growing up, kids are cruel. So I was like the one kid that didn't look like everybody else in the family. And I used to get made fun of, whatever. I mean, my sisters used to get made fun of too. But, I mean, that's just how kids are. They're cruel. But me, personally, I had like a huge, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, I had a huge, complex because I was around, two sisters who looked alike. So they somewhat had something in common because they were both Korean. And I was this, big oafy, white chick, whatever. I'm being, sarcastic and I'm saying it funny because obviously I'm an adult now, but that's how I felt back in the day because, I didn't know anything about myself. I didn't have any people that looked like me. And anyone who's adopted can kind of relate to that. And it was like that. Not to say that my life sucked or anything, but it's like if you're adopted and you don't have anyone in your family that looks like you or you don't know your flesh and blood, it's a crappy feeling. So anyways, long story short, growing up, I had this huge complex. I had no self-esteem at all because I just felt like there's no one like me. No one loves me. How could you love me? It was like a huge thing. I was, obviously metabolically different. So I was a little bit chubbier. I was taller and, I always felt like I was fat and I was ugly. And so it was something I dealt with for a long time. And I used to just push those emotions down. I hid it. Nobody knew. But at the same time, as you get older, you have to find ways to kind of make yourself feel better. So what did I do? I hung out with a bad crowd. I started smoking cigarettes. I used to run away from home. Asked my sister April. She's, she was like the mother. Because growing up, my adopted mother actually passed away a few months after being adopted. So I was raised, my poor father, God rest his soul, my poor father was a single dad of 3 girls. And he worked full-time in Boston. He used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and he used to drive to Boston and he would be gone all day and he would get home late. And so I was the baby of the family. So I had free reign. I pretty much did whatever I wanted at the time because, I feel like, the older one, just like any family, you know, they get all the attention. Like, it's like, okay, we are putting all our faith in you. We want you to be like the go-getter. We want you to thrive in everything in life, right? So April kind of is that person. If anyone knows my sister April, I mean, she's awesome, love her to death, but she's got, she wants to accomplish goals, and she did. She's a goal getter. And then there's Amy, you know, the middle one, who's always like the quiet one. And then there's me, the younger one, who's the rebel. And that I totally fit the bill. I did it. So anyways, I used to seek love in ways of like boys. I used to hang out with the wrong crowd. I used to date so many stupid boys, and I ended up getting pregnant at a very young age. So I got pregnant at the age of 16, and at the time when I got pregnant, my father obviously didn't agree with the pregnancy. He like didn't even know I was having sex. Like, you know, looking back on it, he was like, how the freak are you pregnant? Like, how the hell did that happen? You know? So I'll never forget it. And my father was, you know, the military guy, like, you know, tough love. Well, it's my way or the highway. And if you know, if you have a couple of choices, Cindy, you know, you can either A, get married. And I was like, hell no, I'm not getting married. I'm 16. I'm a freaking senior in high school. You can choose to terminate the pregnancy. And I'm like, I don't think I want to do that, because I was adopted. Like, I didn't have any flesh and blood of my own. Or C, you can get out of my house, because this is my rules, and you know, this is just the way it is. So at 16, I chose to move out because I didn't really have a choice. There was no way in hell I was getting married, because my daughter's father and it was a very unhealthy relationship, and I'm not going to talk bad about him. That's not why I'm here. But it was an unhealthy relationship, so I chose to not go that route. Not to say that he would have married me anyways, but that was like not even an option. Like, hell no. So I chose the really hard route, and I chose to leave his home at 16 years old, being a senior in high school. And I'll never forget it. Like, even back then, I was kind of an old soul, and I used to work a lot. I used to work at a donut shop, and it was a pizza shop / donut shop. So donuts in the morning, and then like pizza in the afternoon. And even back then, I don't know, I was frugal, I was cheap. I still am to this day. I used to bank every single paycheck, and I used to like live off like $10 to $20 a week. And so I had some savings. And so what I did was I lived in a hotel. And at the time I had a close friend, which we're no longer close because she ended up doing me wrong. But I lived in a hotel, and I used to just try to find rides to school because I was a senior, and I was like, I'm not going to not graduate from high school, you know, being pregnant. And, you know, being 16, you don't even know how to take care of yourself. Never mind take care of like a baby, or how to take care of yourself when you're pregnant. So, I, you know, lived in a hotel until my funds ran out. And at the same time, I was introduced to a nurse, who worked at South Shore Hospital at the time. And, you know, she basically introduced me to a shelter, system up in the South Shore that was, in Quincy and Hull. And the name of the shelter was Friends of the Unborn. And the shelter basically housed homeless mothers or people who chose not to terminate their pregnancies or whatever, and just it supported them, you know, to be able to provide a home and shelter and things like that. You know, obviously Catholic charities, you know, they don't believe in termination of pregnancies and things like that. I wasn't Catholic, and I was a minor. So I met with the head of the shelter, and she was like, you're 16. Like, what's up with that? Like, you know, where are your parents? Like, we've never had a minor live here. Like, usually they have to be 19 or older. And so at the time, it just wasn't an option for me to live at home. And so they kind of made an exception for me, because they realized that there was no other option for me. I was either going to be living on the streets or I was living in the shelter. So I lived in the shelter from pregnancy, like through having my daughter, and living in that shelter, I saw so much crap. Oh my God. So many things that like I have stuck with me to this day. And I'm 39, so that's like what, my daughter's 22 years later. And honestly, living in that shelter, like, just think about it, being 16. Some of you guys have 16-year-olds. Some of you guys can remember being 16. Like, what the hell were you doing when you were 16, right? You're probably like out hanging out with your friends, playing sports, like doing stupid shit, right? I was pregnant, alone, homeless. living in a shelter. It was freaking crazy. And I was living with adult people, like people who had had babies or people who had already lived their lives like adults. And I just remember seeing so much shit go on. And I remember something clicked in my brain at that time. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be a statistic. I remember saying that and it always stuck with me. I'm not going to be a statistic. I'm not going to be. So, it's kind of what has been my driving force throughout my life to do better. And honestly, like, it's kind of made me like kind of an overachiever and like to the point that it's like almost like self-destructive in a way. So the reason I'm talking about it today is because sometimes I forget where I've come from. And I'm like, oh, you're not good enough. Or, oh, you can't accomplish bad, hard things. And I'm like, oh, holy shit, Cindy, yes, you can. You were 16 years old. You had every single odd against you. You had nothing. You literally had nothing. You had like a backpack with like an outfit. And like, look what you have done. You have sacrificed so much shit in your life. So like, you can do hard things. And honestly, throughout my life from that experience, I kind of had this hard exterior because of it. Like, I was like, don't mess with me. Like when you live in a situation like that, you have to become tough. You can't let people mess with you. In other words, like, you have to be tough. You have to like stick up for yourself. You have to fight like you're a fighter. So my whole life, I was kind of like a bitch. I was like chip on my shoulder, like evil. And I fought my way through life. So I ended up, having my daughter, and my parents actually came around eventually, and it ended up being the greatest thing. My daughter was the greatest thing, like my parents, like she fulfilled, my dad remarried, that's why I'm saying my parents, but my daughter was like my dad's like little princess, and it's just crazy how life can turn around for you. So long story short is I busted my ass to become not a statistic. I went to school for business and I decided that, what, this isn't for me. I want more. What am I doing? I'm not helping people. I didn't feel like my job had a purpose. And that's when I realized, like, Cindy, your dream of becoming a nurse, you need to pursue it. And the reason I didn't become a nurse for a long time is because, number one, I used to faint at the sight of blood. Like, yeah, me, I used to be like, and I had no confidence in myself. You got to realize. So throughout those trials and tribulations of being like homeless and feeling like nobody loves you and feeling like nobody's got your corner, you develop this feeling of like, you're not worthy, right? So I'm like, I can't do nursing school. Like, that's some hard shit. Like, how am I going to pass nursing school, right? So anyways, I went to school for business, got my degree, and then I was like, hell no, I cannot do this for a living. I'm going to go to nursing school, no matter how freaking hard it is. I was going to go for my LPN, and luckily my parents convinced me. They said, no, go for your RN, Cindy. You're going to have more opportunities. You'll probably make more money. You can support your daughter. It'll just be better for you. So I did. I went for my RN. I got my degree, and it was like the best thing I ever did. And then as soon as I became a registered nurse, I got a job, and well, I should kind of back up, actually, because through nursing school, it was tough. Like, nursing school, some tough shit. Anyone who's ever been there can relate. Like, give me a freaking, I don't know who's watching or anybody, but if anyone's a nurse and been through nursing school, give me a freaking thumbs up, because you know how hard that is. It's like living, breathing, sleeping, whatever. So I was young, and I was a mom, and I was trying to work, and I was trying to go to nursing school, but I freaking did it. And at the time, I ended up hooking up with another freaking boyfriend, lame-o, that treated me like crap. And so again, self-esteem was just not there. But I like pretended like it was. I pretended like I had confidence because I didn't want people to know that I felt like shit deep down inside, right? And so it came time to take my boards for nursing, and at the same, I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't have confidence. So it didn't take me once to pass my boards. It didn't take me twice to pass my boards. It took me 3 times. So the third time, thanks Jamie, I passed my boards. But I'll tell you, the first 2 times I didn't pass my boards because I hated myself. Like, I didn't have confidence in myself, and it reflected in everything I did. I took a job where they treated me like shit. I basically just let people walk all over me, like in certain settings. I didn't want to upset people. I just wanted to be like the good person and just show that, okay, I'm a hard worker. You can treat me like crap, whatever. You don't have to pay me well, whatever. So by the time I finally got to my third time around taking my boards, I finally was like, you know what, screw this shit. I broke up with the guy that was basically, not physically abusive, but emotionally. He was inside my head. Once I got rid of him, I passed my boards. It was kind of amazing, right? So then I worked for many years as a registered nurse, and I should back up again. In my first year of nursing, and again, many people do not know this story because I don't share it. I share it with maybe like 2 or 3 people. And the reason I've shared it with them is because they have reached out to me for some of the things that they've gone through in nursing. So again, didn't pass my boards the first time, didn't pass them the second times, took it third time to take my boards. And I think you're only allowed 3 times. So God freaking forbid I didn't pass, right? So a year within my nursing license, I'm working. I make a freaking med error, right? Nothing life-threatening. I gave an antibiotic to a patient who had an allergy. Now, mind you, I was the third person to give that antibiotic. He had gotten 2 doses previously. I had given the 3rd dose. So that's when the error was noticed, was that, Cindy, you gave an antibiotic to a patient who has an allergy to penicillin. And I was like, holy shit. Thank God, no adverse reaction. Looking back on it, I had to go through all this education. I had to go through all this disciplinary action. It's still on my nursing license, like almost 20 years later, because I gave an amoxicillin to somebody. And the reason why I got screwed is, I don't even say screwed, because you know what? It actually taught me a lifelong lesson. Again, all these things teach you lessons. So again, I was a higher degree. Some of the other nurses that had given them the medication were LPNs. And I was a registered nurse. So I was the one disciplined because I was, quote, held to a higher level because I had a higher degree. And so I had to go through a year of disciplinary action. I had to do some education as far as pharmacology. I had to write letters and had to have my my boss like write quarterly reports on me to make sure that I was following everything that I was supposed to do, that I didn't make med errors, blah, blah, blah. So long story short is that didn't help my confidence either, right? So just another blow to the self-esteem. And so for a long time, I stayed in a job that I hated because I was like, you know what, where else am I going to go? Like, I'm stuck. And I just stayed. And it was kind of a crappy job in the way that, you know, I wasn't respected. I was overworked, underpaid, and I was kind of hazed, whatever, like nurses can relate. And, you know, I just took it. And like inside I was like, all right, I kind of deserve it. I'm not worthy. You know, I'm stuck here because I made a med error. And then what finally changed was, it's kind of strange, but I met my husband, Derek, and honestly, he gave me like the strength to realize, like, Cindy, you're worth more. And, so I believed him, right? So I decided to pursue higher education and find another job. And it was actually, I don't even know why the hell it took me hearing it from another person to realize that I was better. And, you know, anyone who knows Derek knows me, our relationship, it's been rocky. We've had our ups and downs. We've been through shit. We've been together almost 12 years. We've broken up. We've been through shit. We've been married now for almost, oh God, almost 3 or 4 years. I can't remember. That's bad, huh? Anyways, we've been married for a while, but he's the one who actually was like, Cindy, what the hell? You deserve more. You are worthy. You're smart. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I am. And throughout my life, I've like forgotten that, right? So because of Derek, I had the confidence to pursue my bachelor's degree, pursue management positions, pursue graduate school. Now, granted, he didn't do the work for me. He didn't apply for me. He didn't freaking bust his ass doing all that stuff for me. But he gave me the knowledge to be like, Cindy, you, like, what makes you not capable, right? So it's kind of crazy how we go through life and we don't pursue things because we just think we're not good enough. And so it kind of hit home today because I just been, I don't know, I just been feeling like a Debbie Downer. And so I'm like, you know what? You've been through so much shit, Cindy. You know, from like 16 years old, being homeless, living in a shelter, to having a doctoral degree in nursing, and finally being in a job that you love and appreciate. and you actually have purpose in what you do. You're actually helping people every single day. Like, so the reason why I stress, and I'm always like throwing out quotes, and I'm always like throwing out motivation and like, hey, you guys can do hard things, is because I'm a perfect example that you can do hard things. And I, honest to God, have not shared all that with people in like ever. Like, there's probably like a select few people who know my whole story, and that's not even all of it. I mean, obviously there's stuff in between that happened, and in between there I had my son Brendan, so like obviously shit happens, right? And so you know, I guess the moral of this story is that if you feel like shit and you feel like you're not worthy and you feel like you can't do hard things, that's bull. Like, you know, you just have to find it within yourself. And sometimes, yes, you need to surround yourself with people who believe in you, like my husband. And you need to realize that once you start hanging around with people who motivate you and have like the same view on life and are there to motivate you, and they hold you accountable and they bring you up and not bring you down, that's when your life will get better. But it really starts from within. And that's why my business that I run, it's called Train Your Brain. And the reason I call it Train Your Brain is because I feel like your life is at a standstill until you can truly get it through here, that you deserve more and that you're capable of more. And I struggle with it every single day. Here I am, accomplished in so many areas of my life, and I still struggle with feeling like I'm good enough and feeling like I'm strong enough. So I just wanted to come on, and I hope I help one person today realize that Monday is a fresh start. It's a brand new day. It's a brand new week. You can do hard things. You might feel like you're not worthy. You might feel like you're not good enough. You might feel like you failed at so many things. And believe me, I have failed. Like I said, failed my boards. And then not to mention the fact when I applied to graduate school, I didn't get in the first time. I could have given up then, but I was like, hell no, I've come this far. So I applied a second time and I got in. My first semester of grad school, anyone who's watching maybe who was in grad school with me, my first semester, I almost said, you know what, I'm not cut out for this. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I almost dropped out. But for the grace of God, I don't know. Something told me, which is probably Derek in my ear, Cindy, everyone struggles. Everyone has hard times. You can do it. So you surround yourself with people who believe in you and can bring you up. That's I guess my point. So if you feel like you're in a tough spot and you feel like, you know what, life is not going well, we all have shitty days. We all have shitty moments. We all have shitty years. Surround yourself with people who believe in you, because that is going to be key. And I just wanted to bring that home. Like, stop thinking you're not capable of doing hard things, because we all are capable of doing hard things. And you don't get where you are by quitting. You know, you don't get where you are by just stopping when shit gets hard. So I guess that's the moral of my story. And I'm going to finish drinking my coffee. And so I didn't talk about my thyroid health today because I wanted to totally go on a different subject, because it was something near and dear to my heart and was like speaking to me today. And so I just wanted to share that with everybody. And hopefully this resonates with somebody who can relate, who's struggling, whether it be in school, in a relationship, with their mental health, with their fitness, with their weight loss journey, anything. If you feel like, you know what, I keep quitting, I just can't do it, think again. Surround yourself with people who believe in you, a community that believe in you, and you can do anything that you set your mind to. You just have to train your brain. Like, seriously, if I can do it, anyone can do it. So that's it for today. And I totally did not even mean to cry, but I don't know, something happened, something came over me. So anyways, you know, I just wanted to be real and raw for a moment and just share my knowledge and my story, my background story with everybody. Okay, so I hope everyone has a great Monday, and I'm going to finish my coffee before it gets cold. All right, bye guys.